Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Samp&Chance. I'm your host, Bobby Sampson, joined as always, my man with the master plan, Mr. Chance. Michael's coming out of a Muay Thai session. How was that, brother?
Pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. So what's
Not
with the
bad.
Muay Thai?
What's that?
Why Muay Thai now? Just
Well,
something
I've been
something
I've been
different?
doing it for the last 9 years.
You have, eh?
Yeah. I usually split it up. I do half hour Muay Thai, half hour boxing in the same session. But sometimes, depending who's coaching me, if it's just the Muay Thai coach, I just do the straight Muay Thai. So it all depends who's there. Today was
Fair
just Muay
enough.
Thai. Yeah.
Fair enough, man. You're a multifaceted dude, bro. All right. Um, AEW Revolution happened on Sunday from the Crypto Center in Los Angeles, home of the Lakers.
Good
Um,
crowd, 11,000, 12,000 people.
Look, I'm going to tell you straight up. Here's my take on it. I thought the show was too long, like usual, and I
Mm,
posted it to X as well. I talked about it there a little bit with you, and but here's the thing: I will say that 4 hours flowed very nicely.
mm,
Granted, I don't know if I could have sat there stationary for 4 hours. I was
yeah.
doing things in the kitchen, but had it on in the background for the most part. Um, the matches were great. Some were better than others, but they were all good. That's the thing. All the matches were good, but some just stood out a bit more than the other ones did. And my biggest concern was the last three matches as I saw this card developing and to see what was left on the card. Last three matches were the steel cage match, which was Osprey and Fletcher. Then you had the oh god, what was after that? The Mariah May match and Tony Storm, the cage match, Copeland and Moxley after that.
Yeah.
You look at those three matches, and I thought, okay, this is going to be too saturated. How much blood and how much plunder can we take in three consecutive matches? But man, they did a really good job with it.
Yeah. I'll
Each
say
match,
one thing, man. After that, obviously the cage match was the most entertaining, the best match of the night. After that match, the crowd was finished. You follow that. I understand it can't be the main event because it's not your title match, but that Edge versus Moxley match was absolute garbage. The crowd was dead. The announcers had no enthusiasm. I just don't
well,
know.
that's bound to
It was
happen
just a
after a
bad
six
match.
hour.
They don't work well together.
It was a
Edge
6 hour
just looked
show,
like
right?
Ed just looked old and tired that day. I don't know what it was. A couple other matches looked great. He looked sluggish, tired. So did
Yeah.
Moxley. That was a horrible, horrible main event. One of the worst main events I've seen in a while. It was that bad.
That being said, I almost called it.
Yeah,
I almost called it. I almost said Christian was going to win the world
yeah,
title.
yeah.
But that's kind of weird, though. That's the one thing, that one negative takeaway I'll take away from that is like they built this guy up with this contract for months. Christian,
mm,
I'm talking about. And then just to lose it like that. You know what I mean? Like there was no payoff for holding on to that thing for that long.
yeah.
I think the right thing would have done was put the belt onto Christian and have Moxley take it off of him somehow if you were going
It,
to put it on Edge.
and watching that main event leads me to believe that Moxley is just, he can't carry a main event. He couldn't carry that main event. The belt needs to come off that guy. This Death Riders thing is corny. It's lame. Pull the belt off of him. Get it to Osprey. I don't know. Get it to Fletcher. Get it to
Well,
somebody younger. But
you know
this
what?
that
It,
main
it
event was
looks
horrible.
like Swerve might be the guy right now.
Somebody. And the cage match was amazing. The Omega match was good. It was a good card. It's just it's like watching ACDC perform. No band wants to come on after ACDC because they just killed the whole show. It's so amazing. So coming on after Fletcher and Osprey did that, Edge and Moxley were sitting ducks. The crowd was out of it. You just can't. They're not going to be able to capture what we just saw. And they kind of were set up to fail. But I thought Moxley should have done a better job at the chance to try to carry that match. And Edge is a veteran. It was just a horrible, horrible match.
Well, the match itself was very different. I mean, you think about look what we saw beforehand. We saw Mariah May and Tony Storm who just put on a bloodbath of a match. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I'll never. I don't think I'll ever get used to women doing color like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it
It
doesn't seem right.
I can understand it in MMA, and places like that in boxing, but
Yeah,
wrestling, just to see women intentionally do that, and two very attractive women. Let's just be honest here, right? Like, where do they cut themselves? Like above their hairline, in their
yeah,
hairline,
on the hairline. Yeah.
so they don't really scar themselves up or anything. But man, the amount of blood those two shed was
Oh yeah,
something
it was a
else.
good
Like
match. It went
the
all out.
match was hard hitting, very, very, powerful. And like I said to you in the preview to this, I think that we're gonna get that Sasha Banks and Tony Storm. That's the only direction either lady should be going into right now, in my opinion. It's just
Seems that way.
that kind of feel. And Monet, again, great match. Wasn't the best match on the card, but the near pinfalls, just the expressions, the way those two work together, done really, really well. I thought there was a couple moments there where Momo was going to win it.
Yeah.
And it was very, very possible that she would have, but when he walks away with it, and yeah, that was a good match.
And I always praise the commentating at AEW, and the highlight of the commentating night was JR with his great witty lines and stuff. But Excalibur, I thought was horrible. He had no energy. Taz, I thought, was flat. Like, I don't know what was up with the commentating that night. They just felt flat and lifeless. And maybe it was too long of a show. Maybe they were tired. I don't know. But I was very disappointed in that. And I was noticing the comments online too. People are saying, "What's up with Shivani and Caliber?" Like this, they were lifeless for half that show. And seen some big moves, some big moments, but they weren't able to raise the bar on the commentating, which I was quite disappointed because usually they do a pretty good job. So I'm not sure what happened
and
there.
I can't remember the British guy's name that's on there as well. The British fellow. Anyways, I thought of him. I wrote a note down about it. I said, "Man, this is like a poor man's Wade Barrett."
Yeah. Well, and then they had the 4-man booth. No, you don't need 4 guys commentating because nobody knows when to jump in. You had JR, Shivani, Caliber, and Taz. Take one of them out and let them sit out. If JR's coming out to do a match, one of them can go in the back or just turn the mic off. You don't need 4 guys in a booth. That's way too crowded.
Look at it. I mean, the pre-show was about an hour and a half long, pretty much. And then you got a 4-hour show on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, they were on the West Coast, so by 9 o'clock, maybe it was humid in there. I don't know. Maybe it was just, like you said, too much. But maybe it's just one of those things. Like you say, man, as a boxer, you can train 8 weeks, have an amazing training camp. But the day of that night, or the day of, or that night of, when you get into that ring, you just don't have it.
Yeah.
And that's just possibly what we saw here that night. It was just long, man. It's just long. Like AEW's got to do a better job. And I thought going on to Prime, I don't know what numbers they got on Prime. I don't know what the buy rate was for them. I haven't seen those numbers anywhere yet. But I mean, you would think that they would have put a cap on it somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good show. I enjoyed it. Just
No, it was good.
Too long. And the main event was a disaster. There's no other way to describe that match. I was looking forward to it. I said on the show, one of the matches I was looking forward to, and you could feel it when they got in the ring. That you could hear.
Well, the way I looked at it, like I said, everything that led up to that, what kind of match could these guys have? Because you can't keep having the same match over and over again. I'm not saying that those two have had the same match over and over again, but I mean, you would expect a lot of color from Moxley and Cope Edge, right?
Mm-hmm.
You thought that there was no color in that match. Right.
There's just no chemistry. There's no intensity. There's no vibe. It was just there just weren't good dance partners for whatever the case may be. And it's time to get that belt off of Moxley. He's not a great champion. The Death Rider thing's kind of corny, if you ask me. It's not working. Get the belt off him, give it to somebody younger, and go with it. Because if that's the main event he's going to produce, he shouldn't be having a belt.
Ricochet Swerve. Your thoughts on that match?
It was good. I enjoyed it. I would have let Ricochet have the win, but I got no problem with it. It was a good match.
I think Ricochet would have been eaten up by the Death Riders. And if the Death Riders are the heel faction, then you need a good solid face to go up against them, though, right? So, I mean, this is Swerve kind of one. But you know what? Again, no problem with that match. I thought it was fun. It was good. One of the okay matches. It would have been a great match any other time.
Mm-hmm.
On this card, considering Osprey and Fletcher, man, those two guys just gave everything they had, man. That was just a bloodbath. And all the near falls, everything. It was really exciting. It truly was.
Mm-hmm. One thing I'll give to AEW, they're doing something WWE doesn't do. In WWE, it's always 1, 2, and they kick out. AEW did a lot of kick out on the count of 1, which is nice to see. You don't see that in WWE much anymore. So it's kind of fresh to see. You get a guy with the movie's not that hurt, he kicks out with 1 count. It doesn't always have to be 2, doesn't always have to be right at the mat. So I thought that was something different.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was good through and through.
But yeah, no, Fletcher and Osprey, best match of the night, stole the show. Went all out. A lot of guys are complaining that last move at the top when he did that Spanish fly was like gymnastics. So they kind of stood up, they kind of got in sync and did it. But how else are you going to do it? Such a dangerous move, right? They got to be in sync.
Well, they have to be in sync. And I mean, anyone complaining about that needs to go back and watch every single cage match, every single fucking spot from the top rope, every single spot from the top cage to see that everyone positions themselves. Even when you see a super suplex, like, off the top rope sort of the deal. I mean, by all accounts, the guy's usually sitting on the turnbuckle when the other guy comes up to him and he ends up picking him up and having him stand up. So In reality, that shouldn't happen. He should be dead weight, but it
Mm-hmm.
happens every time you have a high spot like that. So I don't see why people are complaining. And
They're just
especially
saying it's
from
too
that,
much. They're saying too much of a spot fest, too much gymnastics.
well, what are you
That's
going to
what
do in
that
a
was
steel
the.
cage, man? That's just their style. And everyone going into that match should know. And we've talked about it. Those guys are ballet dancers. They're gymnastic. They're
Mm-hmm.
acrobatics, right? I mean,
Yeah.
fuck, if they don't work out here, they could go to Circus Soleil
Mm-hmm.
and get a job instantly.
Yeah. Well,
You
that was a
know,
good
so
match.
yeah, I mean, no matter what anyone does, people are always going to complain, brother. People are going to
That was
complain
a good.
about
It was a
something.
good card.
Yeah,
Their shows and pay per views are getting is pretty good, and I actually enjoyed Revolution more than I enjoyed Raw. But so I was happy with just too long. One or two matches they could just put on TV. Shouldn't have been out there. That Hurt Syndicate match wasn't very good, and I'm a huge Bobby Lashley fan. That could
that
have
was
been
a
on
TV
anyway.
match. That was a
Yeah,
TV match,
exactly.
right?
But it was a good show. Raw Mega match was good.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
Mega Match was
MJF and
cool
Hangman
too.
Page was a good match too to kick off the show.
Yeah, yeah, we called that one as well. I said that should
Mm-hmm.
be the show. That should be the
Yeah, it
match
was good.
to kick it off, right? And they performed. I mean,
They
they
did.
got the crowd going up, and they were loud. They were raucous for it, and that's what you want to go into the show. But I mean, after 4 hours, like we said, I mean, there's so much blood, there's so much splendor, there's so much visuals. People are going to be dead, even for that cage match. The crowd didn't wake up until maybe 10 minutes into it. They were
Yeah,
pretty
yeah, they got
quiet,
woken up pretty good. Yeah.
right? They woke up after 10 minutes into it. Like I thought, just the way they started it off, I almost felt that what they were going to do, because both guys can fly and both guys are acrobatic. You know, when they started that match and they were both standing at the top of the cage of the opposite corners, wouldn't that been a wicked spot to see them try to do a drop kick off the top to each other or a double clothesline off
Mm-hmm.
the top to each other? That would have been something to
If
start.
anybody could pull it off, it's those two guys.
Yeah, yeah, but I guess err on the side of caution just in case they couldn't do it.
And I'm impressed with Fletcher, man. I've been noticing this guy every few weeks. He's getting better shape, better shape. So he's taking his craft seriously. His body's looking good, and I got to give him credit on that. He's in amazing shape.
No, 100%, 100%. All right, let's move on to the world of WWE. The road to WrestleMania continues. Ironically enough, Naomi, who is Rikishi's daughter-in-law, says she did it for Bianca. Very similar to the way Rikishi said it 20, 30 years ago. I did it for The Rock.
Mm-hmm.
That was I watched that segment on SmackDown, and if you're gonna do spots like that, if you're gonna do segments like that, take some acting classes. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, it was horrible. My
Right?
one question to you about watching Raw yesterday, and I don't understand this. It wasn't a very good Raw. It's at the very end. But my question: where was Braun Breaker yesterday?
Braun was not on the show.
Why? He's one of your best.
I don't know. I don't know.
No,
I
I know.
don't
I'm
have
just,
an
this is
answer for
what I'm
that.
saying.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, I
watching the
know.
show.
I'm also the same thing, right?
I'm
Like, I mean,
watching the show and I'm thinking to myself, okay, Braun's gonna have a match. Braun's gonna no, no, no. It's like you're building to WrestleMania. He's one of your brightest, fastest, best athletes. Just an amazing, amazing athlete. He's on the show. It's like what?
well, for what it's worth, he's under Paul Heyman's wing now.
Who is?
Brett Breakers.
Yeah.
He's working with Paul Heyman to develop his character, to do all those things. Like he's specifically a Paul Heyman guy now. Like he's literally, Paul Heyman's working very closely with him. So let's see where it goes. But I know what you mean. He
Yeah,
should
it's
have
just
been
like
there.
guys.
He should
And
have
then
been
Paul
there.
Heyman crying last night. Like, come on, man. I'm so sick and tired of these guys, grown men. Sometimes I get it. Every man cries. I'm not saying that, but to have grown men all the time, if it's Cody, if it's Paul Heyman, if it's whoever else is crying, like, come on, guys.
Well, dude, I'm telling you. I mean, I think we called it here as well. This is the birth of this triple threat match that we're going to get at Mania.
Well, yeah,
Between
we knew
Punk,
that was
Seth,
coming.
and Roman
Reigns.
here. Roman showing up last night, and he had to have showed up last night, man. You were in Madison Square Garden. The one thing I didn't really agree with is they were talking about a cage match history in Madison Square Garden. The one that they forgot to talk about, in my opinion, and I believe this happened in Madison Square Garden, WrestleMania 10, when it was 10. Owen and Brett to start off the WrestleMania that year. That was the year that Brett and Owen fought, and then Brett fought Yoko at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was a great cage match, man.
Was that in Madison Square Garden though? I don't know
I
where it was.
believe it was. Yeah, WrestleMania 10 was
I'm
at
not
Madison
sure.
Square Garden because
Okay.
that was the anniversary, right? 10-year anniversary. First Mania was at Madison Square Garden.
Did they show
Yeah.
Hogan and Boss Man's cage match on the thing?
No, I don't believe so.
They
They're
missed a
not
few of
really
them.
showing Hogan though, man.
Hmm?
Um, I don't think they're really showing too much of Hogan if they don't have to.
I don't know. I don't know. I didn't see. I didn't see the cage. And there's been so many good cage matches, right?
No, they
So
have, but I think they were highlighting the ones that happened in MSG.
yeah, yeah,
Right. And if you think about it, that one should, in my opinion, that one should have been there. It's one of the best cage matches they've done at a Mania with those
yeah,
two. And Owen won it too, right? At the end, remember?
yeah.
And so that's the one thing. But it
The only
looks
problem I felt like the whole Raw wasn't very good. The end was great. We're come seeing Roman. My only thing is you're doing Reigns versus Punk versus Seth, but what does the match mean? There's nothing on the line. There's no belt on the line. They just hate each other. They're going to go at it. They're just
yeah,
filling the
well, you know
spot.
what? You need to change it up a bit because always these guys are connected to some title somewhere, somehow, right? I mean, that's
Mm.
their whole arc for the last so long. So in a way, I find it kind of refreshing to see these guys in a match that really has nothing to do with any title, just themselves, right?
Yeah.
And you got
You
Seth.
got to give it some meaning, though. It's got to be a stipulation with
Well,
this match. I don't
give
know
it some
what.
time here. I think it's
Something.
gonna come. We got so much time to build it up now, right? Like this is the beauty of it. If this was WrestleMania in a regular season, you'd have 2 to 3 weeks to build the story up, in essence, right? Whereas now you got basically a month to build the story. Now you can add the advent of Paul Heyman helping up CM Punk and Roman getting jealous. That's an
Yeah.
element that's in there now. Okay. You got the element of Seth hating both those guys. You got the element of Roman and Seth's history.
Hmm.
Punk and Roman are probably going to be connected through Paul Heyman somehow. You already know Seth's hatred for both those guys. So I mean, it's a lot of stuff's already built in. I think what we're probably going to see is, does Paul turn on Roman now? You know what I mean? Like this is where I'm looking
I
at
know,
it.
but they have to have the match. It's got to mean something. We
Well,
understand they
give
don't
it
like
time.
each other and stuff,
Time.
but it's got to mean something.
Yeah. So
Loser retires.
right. Well, let's give it
Some
time.
sort of stipulation. I don't know what,
Well,
but
again, we got a month now, right? And that's the
yeah.
beauty of this. We have a full month and a bit to build up this match. So, let's see where they go with that. And I think we're getting a second triple threat out of this Raw as well for the women's championship with Io,
What
Bailey.
I don't understand what they're doing to Rhea. So there's two things at play here. Either they're burying Rhea, which I don't think they are, or she's bulletproof. Because when they slapped her there, she didn't do anything. So either she's so over that she doesn't need to do something, or they're trying to bury her. I don't know what's going on here, but yeah, it's definitely going to be a triple threat match.
Well, I think she's over. And she did fall backwards, and so did Bianca. I mean, both showed the same effect from that slap, right? I
Mm.
mean, neither one was more hurt than the other, or vice versa. I think both ladies sold it the way they were supposed to. Um, and I like the fact that Io did that because all of a sudden she was almost forgotten when Bianca and what's her face, Rhea got into each other's face like that, right? So,
Hmm.
Io coming in and doing that as well. It should be an interesting match. I think it's going to be kind of cool. So we got that, and it looks like Logan Paul and AJ are probably going to go at it at Mania.
Yeah. I mean, AJ's a good worker, but he's not good on the mic. So I think that's kind of a lackluster match. You need somebody like Logan that's going to talk a good stick because Logan can talk a good stick. He's so hated. He's so over. I mean, AJ's an amazing worker, Hall of Famer. Don't get me wrong. Guy's horrible on the mic.
Well,
And Logan can talk. So maybe that's why they're doing it.
well,
I don't know.
I think Logan can carry the stick where AJ can carry the match.
Well, I don't know about that. AJ's pretty almost 50, dude. He
No,
barely
you
moves,
know
but
what? He still moves amazingly. He still
they're not
moves
bad.
really well. I mean, he's a ring general. He's one of those Shawn, Michael, Bret Hart type guys, in my opinion. I'm not saying he's that level, but he's very
Mm-hmm.
close to that level of being able to make a great match with a broom. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
And
I just think like Logan's just so young. There's a 20-year age difference
well,
here. I mean,
but if this was
give him
boxing,
somebody. Give it. It's not really it's not a filler match because these guys are both phenomenal athletes. But I just think somebody that could talk a little better would have been somebody younger would have been more
well, look,
beneficial.
I mean, I'm already saying we already got two triple threat matches on here. I mean, if we're really gonna go this way, maybe we throw Braun Breaker in there as well and make that a three-way dance for the Intercontinental title. You got two young, but look, if this was any other sport, if this was MMA, Muay Thai, boxing, any real combat sport,
Mm-hmm.
don't mean that in a bad way. Boxing
Yeah.
show, I can see the age difference. But age difference really at the end of the day, in terms of outside of cardio in certain spots, I think if you're in shape and you still can go, the way AJ can, you still can put on great matches. I don't think age
Oh yeah,
plays
and he still can. He's still
huge,
got a few left.
right? And I think, it's a perfect dance partner to have Logan Paul with him, to be in the ring with him. to work with him, to kind of learn from him as well. You know what I mean? So this is a
Yeah,
good
we'll see.
opportunity for Logan, possibly.
Yeah, we'll see. I just the age is just not very good on Mike, but yeah, we'll see what happens. It'll still be a fun match. You know, they're gonna do some crazy spots in there.
Yeah,
Something
yeah.
they're gonna have something big.
But that cage match was pretty good.
Yeah. What with the at the end there?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the only good thing about Raw. The rest was
Right.
boring, but yeah, that was a good match.
Oh, how about Chad Gable coming back? That was funny.
Yeah, I love Chad Gable. He's one of my favorites.
Chad Gable came back in the American luchador mask and then ran away. And then they're like, "Oh, Chad, the the interaction with him and Kathy Kelly, I loved it. He's standing there. He's like, I don't know what you're talking about, but you're wearing the exact same clothes that guy did." And then they arrested some guy and pulled him out from the back. So that was kind of funny.
Yeah, that was good.
So it's kind of good here. I think it's kind of interesting. Braun Breaker, Finn Balor next week for the Intercontinental title. I mean, that could potentially be a match as well. We'll see, right? So, going down the road here to Mania. But yeah, look, I mean, Mania is starting to shape up. Here's
The
an
other thing that a lot of
interesting.
people are pointing out online, and I never thought about it, I was reading the comments, like they let Roman come out there and kick the crap out of everybody for 10 minutes or whatever it was, right? No security. But every other time you see that, you get security ripping them off. It just goes to show you the 50-50 uneven writing that we're seeing here.
Well, no, security came out.
For how long? 10 minutes?
No, actually, Roman came out. I was watching my time. Actually, here's the thing.
How long was it?
So I sat down and I'm watching the cage match because we had just finished eating dinner and I had it on the background when Punk came out or when Seth came out. They went to commercial break. I'm like, oh, okay, it's close to 7 o'clock. So by the time they actually started, the match was about 7:10, and they went basically everything that we saw until Roman showed up was with about 4 to 5 minutes left on the
Yeah.
time. Right. So Roman showed up at 7:25 or 10:25 in the East and basically did his shit for 2.5 minutes. When he was about to stomp his head on that thing, that's when they all ran out. So he only had 2 minutes to do his thing.
Okay.
2 to 3 minutes. It felt like 10, but it was only 2 to 3 minutes. And then they ran out. And that's when they held him back. And that's when he looked into the cage and saw him. I didn't even see Heyman come out. I didn't even see him come out. They didn't show him coming out. The next thing we see is Roman looking into the cage and there's Heyman helping up Punk.
Yeah.
And
I've been saying this. I've been saying this for years. I'm just so tired of the whole Heyman. It's so over the top, fake, phony. He was great for a while, but like eventually your stick wears out. Like example, I love Hogan, one of my favorites, but the yellow and red ran out after a while. So McMahon said, it's not working no more, right? But this Heyman thing just goes on and on and on. He's everybody's mentor, and everybody wants to be with him. Like either develop some new managers, let Heyman take a break.
yeah, well, I mean,
Too much.
the days of the manager are long gone, brother, man. I mean, we grew up.
Exactly. So then just get him backstage then.
Like at least I can say in the 80s when I was a kid and I grew up, it was all about the managers, Reverend Slick, Humperdinck, Oliver Humperdinck, Bobby Heenan, Mr. Fuji, you know what I mean? Jimmy Hart.
Yeah.
Like, it was all about the managers and their factions and what have you. But I mean, over time that kind of changed when the girls came, right? They kind of replaced the old managers, Freddie Blassie, stuff like that. But yeah, man, look, you know what? Overall, I didn't have a problem with Raw myself. But then that being said, very much like Revolution, I had it on, but I was doing things while I was going.
My whole thing with the Raw thing is like, this is of all the great events they've had at MSG, this is the crap you give them. It wasn't very good. And the end of the cage match, Roman stuff, that was great. Couple good stuff in here, but no Braun Breaker, a bunch of guys like that. I thought it was a lackluster show at MSG. If you're at MSG, the Mecca, the number one sports arena in North America, if not the world, and that's the best you can give them. It's just,
Logan Paul. We didn't talk about that. Logan Paul and Andrew Schultz, man. Are you familiar with Andrew Schultz?
Not really. I don't really know who he is. No,
he's a really good comedian. I really enjoy him. His podcast is really good as well with Akash Singh. These guys are funny, man. Like they're legit funny. They push the boundaries with their comedy. In terms of just the things they say and the topics that they address. They do a great job with it. I highly recommend people checking out Andrew Schultz. He's hilarious, man. But that interaction that he had with Logan, throwing him into the ring and this and that was really cool. I enjoyed that as well.
That was a good segment. Yeah.
But check out Andrew Schultz, man. He's hilarious.
Yeah.
He talked about some real funny stuff. I mean, he did this one thing, and you can't get away with shit like this anymore. He talked about China taking over Taiwan.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay.
but right, and he says like, listen, if that happens, obviously we're gonna have to go there and help.
Mhm.
Here's the problem, and this, it's pure comedy. I love it, right? No
Yeah,
one has the guts to say it. He says something along the lines of, "How do we know which guys are which?"
he's right.
Right? Like, what do we have to go if we go over there? How do we know who's Taiwan and who's China? Are we going to have to do like shirts versus skins sort of a deal?
Yeah, well, it's true. It's
No.
funny.
And he says the best part was, if anyone from Taiwan is listening and this actually happens and we come, here's my only recommendation to you. Everyone, walk around like this,
Yeah, yeah,
eyes open. You know what I mean?
yeah. No, I don't really know who he is. I know he's comedian, but I've never heard his stuff. But
Yeah,
he did. He was good on Raw, though. It was good.
good. It's hilarious. Very knowledgeable. He's very knowledgeable about
Yeah,
multiculturalism, about different cultures. So he's not one of those kind of comics that's just making jokes based on whatever he thinks he knows. This guy knows his shit. He's very
yeah.
intelligent, right? So check him
Nice.
out, everyone. I just did a plug for Andrew Schultz there. But yeah, no, good show. I enjoyed it. I didn't mind it myself firstly, but then that being said, I didn't have to endure it through the whole 2.5 hours. I was busy doing stuff, and that
Yeah,
makes it easier to watch maybe. But yeah, overall, I will say Cody coming onto Raw was a little bit too late
yeah.
to talk about it. What he said on Monday should have been said on Friday,
You'd think so, but
right? The Rock not being there, no one being there, John Cena being absent. Like, if you're saying this is a full-time farewell tour, this is worse than even part-time.
so did you hear? You hear what John Cena's announced for SmackDown in May? Afterwards,
Sorry?
so I guess going to show up on Raw, I guess, a few times and go out of Cody before Mania. I guess is the plan. I don't know, but I know they announced like 3 or 4 dates in May and June or whatever for him.
Well, no, he's going to be in. Well, so here, thank you for reminding me. So everybody, heads up, programming note. A part of the Netflix deal. I want to talk about Netflix here for a couple seconds if we can. Okay, so we
Mhm.
looked at the Netflix deal and, how's this going to benefit everyone? I realized that this Netflix deal is turning into a fucking promotional fest for all the programs that they have on
Yep,
Netflix. Now,
absolutely.
I don't know why well, maybe based on this generation or the younger generations, they know who all these people are. I don't. Okay, so they're saying superstars, are out tonight. Who are these people? I've never even heard of these shows, but that's just me. Maybe I'm the old man in the crowd now who doesn't know what's the.
There's so many shows on Netflix; it's hard to keep track of them all, right?
Well,
Like,
that's the other piece as well, right? So I mean, it just every segment, granted we don't get commercials up here in Canada
yeah,
with Netflix. When I was talking to Professor Bear and Mike D and Joe, I asked them, I said, when you guys watch Netflix Raw, what happens at the commercial? Because, we get commercials, like legit commercials come on.
yeah. We don't. We just get promos.
We just get promos and we get like, the action continues in the ring sort of a deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, I just find that for me is becoming a little too much. I don't really care for that. Do
yeah,
wrestling segments, promote wrestlers, use that time to show Braun Breaker, talk to him. Like, I don't care what shows you're promoting on Netflix. I really don't. Like, it's
yeah.
because, but I'm starting to see what they're doing. Now, this is the kick in the ass for the North America audience. You ready for this?
Let's hear it.
Raw next Monday's coming from Belgium.
Oh, I heard about this at 3 o'clock. Yeah,
So 3 o'clock Eastern, 12 Pacific, if we want to watch it live.
yeah,
So they're not fucking around anymore, man. They're literally, if they're overseas, they're gonna do the programming at their time, which is fair, which is fine. If you're overseas, they should get the program in regular time, right?
yeah.
A lot of the time, what would happen is in the past they would film it, tape it, and then we'd get it on our time slot here. But by that time, we already knew what all the spoilers were and whatnot. So now what they're doing, Netflix style, they're going to show it as is. So Cena's going to be in Belgium for
It's
Monday
gonna be
night.
on Raw.
Yeah, he's going to
Okay.
be at Raw on Monday, and then I think he'll be at SmackDown as well in Spain because he's filming in Europe, anyways, right?
He's not on SmackDown until May, dude.
I think he might be in Spain. I could be wrong.
No. First week of May, they announced it on SmackDown. He is not on SmackDown till May,
Okay, so
unless it comes out as a surprise. But he's not announced for it. They said
so
not till May.
okay, let's find out. Well, we know
That's what throwing people off. Like, wait a minute, he's supposed to be on SmackDown going against Cody. He's not coming on until after Mania. Now maybe he shows up as a surprise. I don't know, but that's what they're saying.
well, I mean, I'm just saying this is not a full-time run. I'm sorry. It's even less than a part-time run.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're the main event of the biggest show of the year on the main night of the show, the main match of the show to close out the whole program.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, you're filming. I get it. And I understand it. But, dude, you got to be more present. You can't turn heel and not show up fucking 3 weeks.
And Rock is the main part of the storyline. He hasn't showed up either since.
Well,
So
I expect that from The Rock, but I didn't expect this from Cena, to be honest. Right? Like, Cena's never been the kind of guy, kayfabe out the window. I'm talking about the man, John Cena. He's always put the company first, you know? And the way he's doing it, it's truly everything that he complained about The Rock, he's basically doing himself even worse.
yeah, but another thing is look at who his bosses are now. He doesn't got the Vince man. Doesn't have that same camaraderie that he had with Vince. Doesn't have that same respect. I'm not saying he doesn't respect Ari or Triple H or Nick Khan, but it's not the same. There's only one alpha, and that's Vince McMahon, and he's not there. This stuff that you're seeing now never would have happened. These ticket prices never would have happened like this. And some of the stupidity that you're seeing never would have happened with Vinny. Vinny cared about the fans. He kept it affordable so you could bring mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, and your daughter. Now you can barely get in the door yourself.
You know what, man?
Expensive.
I was looking at the single ticket rates right now. They're kind of because they're done with the packages. We could probably get into WrestleMania for about 250, 300.
That's what it is for upper bowl seat.
Yeah, so $600 for both nights.
American.
So 800. 850.
What's more than that? Well, that would be about 1,000, but yeah.
Let's say 850 to 900. Okay, let's say 900. Let's say 900 Canadian for that. Still not going to go.
No, I know, but still pretty crazy, right?
Right. I mean, when we get into the boxing show, there's a couple potential matches that might be better for us to go to.
Yeah. I don't know. I know it's already like I get it. He's doing a different business philosophy, but like, dude, you're pricing people out, and eventually you're going to see it. SmackDown is not always selling out. Last time was 80%, well, 90%. But you're going to see the audience dwindle a little bit because people aren't going to spend $500-$600 to watch a SmackDown in Wyoming with a bunch of guys, no stars there. Eventually, it's going to hurt your audience, the live audience. Eventually,
look,
slow trickle.
It's a slow trickle, and then eliminating house shows as much as they have is going to hurt the product too in the long run too.
Absolutely.
In my opinion, house shows were an integral part of keeping people engaged. They were a perfect element for the smaller markets that don't get big shows to get shows. Now those markets aren't getting shows,
and also it helps the guys that most guys in the house show weren't the main guys. It helps those guys work in front of a live audience work their craft before they get on TV. Now where they work on their craft, I guess NXT, but it's not the same.
No, and I mean they're still doing house shows, but it was like you said, it was an integral part of a lot of these guys to work on their programs. Like, I mean, the stuff that we saw on TV back in those days were based on what they were working on house shows. Yeah. House shows are fun because you can do so much more than you can.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. And they're $40-$50 and you're in the door, sometimes $30.
Yeah, and the house shows are great for the fact that the talent can actually work with each other, build that chemistry, work on moves, things like that. Granted,
work out all the kinks in front of a live audience.
Exactly, right? And to see who's working with who's got the chemistry with who. Again,
and you grow new fans that way. Like you said, a kid in Wyoming or a kid out in Abbotsford that doesn't get Raw and SmackDown, they can go down the street and watch it, and you're gaining new fans by the fans that don't live in the big cities or can't travel to the big cities.
Yeah. So I mean, you're taking away from a lot of people who love the program. You're taking away from people, and in a way, they're making Netflix really expensive now for everybody.
Was it almost $40 now?
I think it's 25 or between 25 and 29.
Eventually, it's gonna be at $40, just a matter of time. It'll be like it's gonna be a full cable bill eventually with all these special features they're adding to Netflix.
Well, I mean, they got to pay their bills too. I guess I get it, but I mean, at the end of the day, you got a lot of people. And I'm not saying this in a bad way. Please, people, don't come at me hard here. But if you look at majority of wrestling fans, they're under that line.
Mm-hmm.
I mean. Look, can we say it? Majority of people live under the poverty line that love wrestling.
Yeah, that's fair.
A big segment of their fan base don't have money.
Yep.
Right? I knew guys that didn't have much and they loved wrestling so much. Like I love wrestling as much as the next guy. You know this.
Mm-hmm.
I've never taken a wrestler's picture and put it in a frame and put it in my living room.
Mm-hmm.
I know guys who have done that because they loved Stone Cold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
They loved The Rock. Like they legit loved The Rock to the point where it wasn't a poster on the wall, it was a picture in the frame, kind of like how you have Ichiro in the frame, which is I understand. I get
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
So it's just kind of you're taking away from your huge segment of your population. And if you're gonna fucking make Netflix that expensive, people are gonna have to cut that subscription at some point.
Yeah, I just don't understand Ari Emanuel what his thinking is, and I know he's not a wrestling guy.
He
You know,
doesn't
he's
have to worry about money. When you don't have to worry about money, you don't really care about what's going on around you with people who do.
but
Okay.
you figure that he would want to when you buy a product or a business, you'd want to
Well,
make it better.
you
He's
would
not.
again, I think change will come when people start to revolt against the system,
Yeah.
right? What we're basically seeing here is what Turkey's going to do to boxing.
Mm-hmm.
He's monopolizing major sports, major sport or major um yeah, sport entities. I mean, what else can you call it? Like in that side of the combat sports, right? Now they're going to try to do it with boxing
Mm-hmm.
with Turkey, right? Like you got a stranglehold on MMA, you got a stranglehold on professional wrestling. I don't know how much competition professional bull riding has out there, but they got a stranglehold on that now.
Yeah,
On
I
the
know that's
biggest,
crazy. Got the bull
you know,
riding.
the biggest promotion in bull riding.
And hey, man, Turkey's smart. You want to get the best matchmaker in the world to put the match together. Actually, you know what? You know, Turkey makes just as good matches as Dana White does. But you put Dana White and Turkey together. Turkey puts on the best boxing matches. Dana White puts on the best MMA matches. Those two guys together, oh my god, it's
No,
unstoppable.
no, it is. And if you think about how Turkey did this too, though, like he made friends with all the other promoters, got them going,
Mm-hmm.
doing this, and now he's gonna slash their throats.
It's gonna try to.
Well,
WBO and WBC already
for
came
himself
on
though,
him.
dude. If he come out with Dana to do this first, it'd be a very difficult,
Mm-hmm.
field to sow, right? To plow through that. But by making friends with Eddie Hearns, Frank Warren, making their pockets full, blah blah blah, now he's gonna pull the rug under them,
Mm-hmm. It's gonna try to.
right? Well, I don't think he's gonna try to. I think he's going to. Those guys combined don't have enough money to compete against them. And we'll talk about it because I want to talk about PBC and the crap they're trying to pull now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. All right. But let's wrap this up, buddy. Let's get going on. Um, okay, let's call it average raw. It was what it was.
Average Raw. I enjoyed Revolution.
Revolution
Too
was good.
long.
Too long. Yeah.
Kenny, Kenny, Kyle Osprey and Kyle Osprey, Will Osprey and Kyle Fletcher. Absolute amazing match.
Phenomenal. And the only
And the
thing
main event
out of
was an
it,
absolute stinker. One of the worst main events I've ever seen on a wrestling show. It was that bad. I hate to say that, but
actually curious to see what Dynamite looks like after having a good show like this. What do they come back with here? And my only concern now is where does Osprey go from here? Where does Fletcher go from here? You know what I mean? After that kind of match.
get these guys up in the title picture.
Well, Osprey should be
One of
there
them.
right now, man. He's been there long enough that he should be challenging for that world title. If
He's
it's
the best guy they got. Why not push him?
Osprey versus Moxley, might be the best match in my opinion right now. But let's see what Swerve does first.
Yeah.
See how Swerve plays this out.
And I like John Moxley, and my kid's a big fan of him, but I think he's a horrible champion. I get the belt off like an ASAP. If that's the match you're going to give us as our best guy, belt's got to come off you, dude.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, and I hate to say it, I like Cope, but it's just like it was bad. That
No.
match was so lackluster.
Well, what are you gonna do, man? Age catches up with you, like you said. The card
Yeah,
was into it, and I don't think they had a lot to work with though. Let's just give them the benefit of the doubt, based
yeah,
on three matches that came before them. What could they do? What
and
could
that's
they
Tony,
do?
and that's on Tony Khan for not having matches more strategic. Put that women's match down the card a little more to spread this blood stuff up. We jam packed it, and then you set up Cope and Moxley to fail. What could they do?
That pay per view, if you think about it, was top heavy with the last three matches, four
Yeah.
matches. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And to have to follow that, regardless of that, I understand the psychology, what they were trying to do. They were trying to make it a hard hitting match, but both guys needed to have some plunder or something involved, which wasn't, only because all of it was used up in the previous matches, right?
Yeah,
So what can you do? What can you do, man? You live and
yeah.
you learn. These guys are veterans to see where they come back. I'm curious to see what happens with Edge now. Is he out of the title picture now? Like what does he do here? Where does he move on to? Uh,
Yeah.
there's a lot of loose ends. Let's see how this all plays out. All right, guys and gals, my name is Bobby Sampson. His name, don't forget it, is Mr. Chance Michaels.
And in the words of the great ACDC, those that download, like, and subscribe to the podcast, we salute you.
We do salute you and everybody. 2025. I'm going to say this. You know what? This is just a mantra for life. Forget 2025. This is the mantra to live by. Hard work, faith, and patience, man. It's the tripod to live by. If you exercise, if you train at the gym like Mr. Michaels does, he can tell you that I'm not wrong when I say that training and what I just said are like two tripods. If one of your legs are crooked, you're never going to have balance. And the key to good training and to have a good life is balance. In training, it's diet, it's will, and it's the actual exercise.
Yeah.
What I just said, faith, patience, and hard work. The two hardest legs on either one of those is the diet and the patience.
Yeah.
Right? If you got all three legs balanced, my friends, you will be okay. That being said, please don't give up on your dreams. Please keep fighting for what you believe in. Please keep trying, and please tune out the people that don't want you to win or succeed because they don't have the balls or the guts to do it themselves. They don't have the gumption. They don't have the integrity. They don't have the will. They don't have the determination to step up and fight for what they want.
Well said.
Samp and Chance, we're going to kill it and we're out.